You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Sen has asked the United States administration through the U.S. ambassador to Cambodia to clarify the case of violence acted upon by the opposition, when an individual threw a shoe towards the Prime Minister during his visit to Washington, D.C. for the ASEAN-US Special Summit last week. He has asked the United States whether this case could be considered an act of freedom of expression or violence, and said that if the United States considers this action freedom of expression, then it will be able to spread to other countries, including Cambodia as well. EAC News reporter Dashana Gochin has the details.
តើទង្វើគប់បែបនេះដោយមានការប៉ុនប៉ងយ៉ាងច្បាស់កលែតតាមរយៈបទសម្ភាសន៍ដែលមានតាមទៅដល់សេអ៊ូលមានរបៀបរៀបចំធ្វើយ៉ាងម៉េចដើម្បីឲ្យបានចូលជាការប៉ុនប៉ងហើយក៏បានធ្វើសកម្មភាពដែរតើសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកចាត់ទុកថានេះជាសិទ្ធិបញ្ចេញមតិឬក៏ជាហិង្សាខ្ញុំប្រាំផ្ញើទៅភាគីអាមេរិកខ្ញុំមិនបដៅអាមេរិកទេអាមេរិកត្រូវគិតឲ្យច្បាស់លើចំណុចនេះសង្ឃឹមថាឯកឧត្តមអគ្គរដ្ឋទូតនៅទីក្រុងភ្នំពេញបញ្ជូនសារនេះទាំងស្រុងទៅកាន់រដ្ឋបាលអាមេរិកបើសិនជាអាមេរិកចាត់ទុកថារឿងនេះវាជាសិទ្ធិបញ្ចេញមតិប្រហែលជារឿងនេះនឹងកើតនៅគ្រប់ប្រទេសទាំងអស់រាប់ទាំងកម្ពុជា
While meeting with supporters in front of his hotel in Washington, D.C., Ok Tuot, a 75-year-old Cambodian-American man, threw a shoe at the Prime Minister's supporters, which was considered immoral and arrogant. Speaking at a meeting with the Samdech Tekcho Voluntary Youth Association at the OCIC Center in Phnom Penh on Tuesday, 17th May 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen asked the United States administration through the U.S. ambassador to Cambodia to clarify whether the shoe-throwing incident is freedom of expression or violence. He said he feared that if the United States considers this case an act of freedom of expression, then his supporters might do the same thing against the opposition group.
នៅអាមេរិកធ្វើបាននៅស្រុកខ្មែរក៏ធ្វើបានដូចគ្នានេះជាការឡងមួយដ៏ខ្ពស់ហើយហានិភ័យខ្ពស់ណាស់តែខ្ញុំសំណូមពរឲ្យបងប្អូនយើងអត់ធ្មត់តែក្រៃលោយើងគ្រប់គ្រងគេអត់បានបើសិនជាអាមេរិកចាត់ទុកថារឿងនេះវាជាសិទ្ធិបញ្ចេញមតិប្រហែលជារឿងនេះនឹងកើតនៅគ្រប់ប្រទេសទាំងអស់រាប់ទាំងកម្ពុជា
The Prime Minister further stated that he did not want the United States to take any action against the person who threw the shoe, but only asked the United States to clarify this matter. EAC News has reached out to the U.S. Embassy in Cambodia for comment, however, are still awaiting a response. Cambodian political observers have expressed their opposition to Ok Tuot's actions. Political analyst Seng Seri wrote on his Facebook page that he did not support what Ok Tuot did and described the act as immoral and violent. He wrote, "Immoral and violent acts are not the heroism of Democrats. For who are Democrats that hate violence but throw a shoe at our hero? Please reconsider again." Commenting on the incident, Deputy Prime Minister Men Sam-on described Ok Tuot's actions as an insult to the Prime Minister of Cambodia, an act conducted by inferior people. She wrote on her official Facebook page, "This degrading act is unacceptable to the Cambodian people and cannot be pardoned of all extremists." The young lawmaker and son of the Prime Minister, Hun Mani, also spoke about the incident and stated that he could not accept such an insult made to his father from the opposition in the United States, saying, "This act, we are all members of the party and the people. The Cambodian people who support the Cambodian People's Party cannot mitigate or reduce the guilt of all extremists. We must remember and not forget their extremism," Hun Mani further wrote on his official Facebook page on the afternoon of 12th May 2022. He added, "You must also remember that whoever does it will receive it back." T. Sovantha, a former youth activist for the CNRP who shifted her allegiance to the CPP, wrote on her Facebook page, also condemning the shoe-throwing incident. She quoted an interview given by former CNRP leader Sam Rainsy for Radio France on 16th May, where he said he considers throwing shoes a right of expression. In response to this, she said Sam Rainsy must remember his words, as if he is ever lucky enough to return to Cambodia, millions of shoes will fly to welcome him. She further added, "Politicians' words are very influential. I beg you not to sow the theory of violence." Prime Minister Hun Sen thanked the Cambodian people living in the United States and Canada for welcoming and meeting with him in Washington, D.C., as well as for not retaliating against any attacks made against him. He said he is proud of his supporters in the United States and Canada for maintaining their dignity and respecting U.S. law, and further urged his supporters to remain patient and dignified. Prime Minister Hun Sen also sent a message to analysts saying to be careful in their analyses so as to avoid distortion. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.